Hello, and welcome to the Washington Courts Report podcast, the official podcast of the Administrative Office of the Courts. I'm your host, Patric Haerle, and for today's episode, we got a two-parter. For the first section, I interviewed 2025 Court Manager of the Year award winner Marlynn Markley. Marlynn recently retired after 43 years of service to Whitman County in various roles, many of those as court administrator. Listen in as we discuss the award and get some insight from Marlynn into what effective court administration looks like and what makes an effective court administrator and presiding judge relationship. For the second part of our episode, I interviewed State Court Administrator Dawn Marie Rubio and San Juan County Juvenile Court Administrator Linnea Anderson, co-chairs of the Court Management Council, who selects the Court Manager of the Year. We discuss the Court Management Council and also what the council looks for in potential nominees. I thought all three shared some valuable insight into court administration as a whole, so let's dive right in. What are the traits of a well-managed court? What makes a successful presiding judge and administrator pairing? To help answer these questions, I'm excited to be joined by Marlynn Markley, the Whitman County District Court Administrator and recently named 2025 Court Manager of the Year. Marlynn, thank you for joining us on the show today, and congratulations on your award.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course, we're happy to have you. And so you've been serving Whitman County for more than 40 years now. And in that time, you've likely seen many different versions of your court. In your opinion, what traits does a successfully managed court have? What does that look like?
I think really the key is to be flexible. Whitman County District Court's a small court. We do try to plan and schedule so things are organized and run smoothly, but because we're a small court, things can happen at the last minute and changes have to be made. So you have to be flexible and juggle a variety of responsibilities at one time. And just have the ability to change direction on a moment's notice, something you may have planned to do, but that's got to be dropped and you got to change your whole course for the day. And so, like I said, I think flexibility is key. It's also important, as you know, to have a well-trained staff who know what their jobs are and that you can depend on, that they're organized and prepared and ready to go. And also their ability to, be able to change direction on a moment's notice too is important. So that's what I think helps. We currently have enterprise justice, which has really elevated our ability to serve people and to provide information and be organized and prepared every day for the court schedule.
And for those who might not know, enterprise justice is a case management system, right?
It is. We were on JIS, the Judicial Information System, since 1992, 93, I believe.
Been a while.
And we transitioned to the new case management system, Enterprise Justice, in October of 2024. So we've been using it just a little over a year. We're still learning. There's a lot to learn, but the staff is doing really well.
Okay, so yeah, flexibility, a well-trained staff, and maybe some tech upgrades along the way are all key for a well-managed court. That absolutely checks out. So one thing that stuck out to me when you were given the award at the joint meeting between the Board for Judicial Administration and the Court Management Council was just how highly your past and current presiding judges spoke of you and your working relationship. With one judge even saying that appointing you was the best decision he made in his 34-year career. What advice do you have to any judges or administrators or just any court staff who might be listening for a successful court administrator and presiding judge relationship, or just successful court working relationships in general?
I believe, and I think I told you this before, that I was fortunate to work actually for three fantastic judges. I began my career as court administrator under Judge David Frazier, and he basically trained me. He taught me a lot, but I learned a lot from Judge Robinson. And even as old as I was when Judge Hart took the bench, he taught me a lot. And maybe communication, I think you hear that across all industries. Communication is key. I met with Judge Hart every day. We discussed any issues with staff, any issues with calendaring cases, new processes, procedures, if we had budget. So we talked every day. And I think that is a key maybe for a good court administrator judge relationship. One of the keys to our successes is I had good judges. I also feel that I'm pretty flexible, and I always looked to them for their direction as far as where they wanted the court to go, or what improvements they wanted to see, and tried to implement those.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I think that willingness to always be learning, whether from someone you were just appointed by or someone you're meeting towards the tail end of your career, is absolutely important. Like you said, that consistent meeting, that communication, and that flexibility coming up, like you just said, it helps make a successful court, helps make those successful relationships. And yeah, it comes into handy for sure. So, one thing that's obvious is court manager of the year goes to a court administrator or someone in court management who really goes above and beyond in their career, who puts in that extra work and goes the extra mile. In your career, what has motivated you to really go above and beyond to, not just check boxes, to really try and improve your court and improve justice?
That's a good question. On the one hand, I feel like I was just doing my job, but I always tried to put myself in the place of the customers we were serving, and knowing that the court processes or even just having a speeding ticket can be so stressful for people, and they can get highly emotional, angry, and just trying to help them understand the process and what their options were, what consequences may occur depending on what option they chose. Speeding infraction can be stressful, but criminal charges, having to be involved in a protection order case, having a small claims suit filed against you, a civil suit, all those things can be so stressful. And people come to call or come to our counter for help. And so, even though we can't tell them what to do, we can at least explain the process, give them some resources, tell them what their options are, and try to help them through that process. And so I guess basically just wanting to help people and putting myself in their place and having to deal with that was. And then on the other hand, we've always tried to provide excellent service to all of our court partners, the prosecutor's office, the public defenders, private attorneys, law enforcement. We work closely with the jail in scheduling people for appearances that are incarcerated, making sure that they get the paperwork that they need. And then when we went on enterprise justice, it was challenging for the staff. It was quite a change in process, but then also to have to help our court partners understand how to e-file, how their notices, what they were going to look like, that the calendars were changed, all kinds of things. And so we just tried, our court always tries to provide excellent customer service, whether it be someone receiving a speeding ticket or, another court partner.
Yeah, I think, courts for a lot of people can be really, even if they can be unfortunate moments of something as simple as a speeding ticket to something, a really low point for a lot of people. And I know they can also feel like these very intimidating, kind of unfeeling organizations. So having that empathy and trying to put yourself in the customers and court users' shoes, I think is so important, especially for a smaller court like Whitman. It is a little more personable, I would imagine. So one thing I want to ask you about, transitioning a little bit to the award now. As I mentioned earlier, you were named the 2025 Court Manager of the Year by the Court Management Council, something that comes out every year for a single, maybe sometimes two administrators. How did it feel to be honored with that award? After 43, I believe, long years of service for Whitman County, it was awarded for both your work in the past year and your work over a long, successful career. So I just want to ask, how did it feel?
Well, of course, I've been aware of this award for many years. I just, in my wildest dreams, never thought that I would receive this award. So I was so just taken aback by receiving it. And then the comments that Judge Hart made, before the award was presented, and just the comments from the previous judges really, I mean, really hit me. And so I really appreciate that. I appreciate the Court Management Council for giving me the award, and I feel humbled and very honored. And like I said, I was just doing my job. That's what I felt like. So to receive the award was a huge, huge honor.
Yeah, I imagine you must have been doing your job pretty well to receive it and to be spoken of so highly by so many of your different judges that you've had throughout your career.
Yes.
Well, as we get close to wrapping up here, I did just want to ask you, is there anyone you'd like to thank or shout out?
Well, I appreciate you, Patrick. You are
Thank you.
really a good, easy to talk to. Honestly, just the judges, and I learned so much from them. You know, they helped mold me into the court administrator I ended up, or as I ended my career, and especially Judge Hart. He, you know, you didn't think an old dog could learn new tricks, but he taught me a lot. And I just feel like I don't know, no one's perfect, but he's such an excellent judge. And that is reflective on how our staff interacts with the public, and their attitude of, you know, we're here to help you. I had said years ago, it seemed like court staff always gave this, well, I'm the government and you're stupid, and, you know, you messed up and I'm not going to help you. Well, no, that's not what we're here for. We're here to help people. Everybody makes mistakes. We're here to help people. So I feel that he epitomizes that. He makes sure that the staff understand that, you know, we've got to treat everyone with kindness and respect. So that's why a special shout out to him. And then I just want to also mention the current court staff. Huge, and them great attitude going into the transition from JIS to Enterprise Justice. They all worked so hard to make sure our records were entered correctly and things were processed correctly, helping our court partners understand what they needed to do. So the staff are champions too. They do a really good job. And that's, I guess, really all I want to mention. Of course, my family, my husband's always supported me in my job, and I appreciate that too.
Of course. And one thing I picked up right away there was that willingness to learn, like you mentioned earlier in the show, that flexibility, that communication, and also the empathy of putting yourself in the customer's shoes. It feels like that has gone throughout the whole court. It's not just you and the presiding judge, it's the whole staff. So that feels really important. Well, Marlynn, I'd like to thank you again for coming on the show. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your last few weeks of your career.
Thank you.
Congratulations again on your retirement and your award. And that is where we will end the first part of our episode today. For part 2 of our episode on the Court Manager of the Year Award, I'm excited to welcome State Court Administrator Dawn Marie Rubio and San Juan County Juvenile Court Administrator Linnea Anderson to the show. Dawn Marie, Linnea, welcome to the show, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
Of course. So you two are co-chairs of the Court Management Council, a statewide forum for enhancing the administration of Washington courts, which also awards the Court Manager of the Year. Before we dive into the award, could you tell us a little bit about the Court Management Council and what its primary functions are for those who might not know? And we'll start with Linnea.
Sure. Oh, it's my great pleasure to talk about the work of the Court Management Council. As some of you may know, the Supreme Court in 1987 established this council, and over the years it has evolved into a vital statewide forum dedicated to enhancing the administration of our courts. What makes our council truly unique is its composition. It's comprised of dedicated, non-judicial court professionals who possess valuable insights and expertise. Together, we focus on developing recommended policies and implementing organizational improvements that promote not just efficiency, but the very quality of justice itself. Our mission extends to ensuring access to the courts and paving the way for future planning and effective operations, and also the great pleasure of selecting Court Manager of the Year each year.
Yeah, I think, it's really important. I think everyone knows who's listening, or a lot of people know, there's a lot of judicial associations for judges around the state, but it's really important to also have that one representing administrators and managers and helping that side of justice. Dawn Marie, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely, Patrick. I think I would like to call out who specifically is on our Court Management Council, and that includes a representative of Supreme Court Administration, Court of Appeals Administration, the Superior Court Administration, Juvenile Court Administration, where Linnea is from, and our partners at the Washington State Association of County Clerks, along with our district and municipal court managers. And then finally, there's a few representatives from the Administrative Office of the Court, including myself. Another thing that, just to put it out there, is some of the unique projects that we've worked on over the last several years. Most recently, we hosted a succession planning webinar that was attended by all court levels and really giving court managers and presiding judges a footprint on how to, or a roadmap, if you will, on how to think about succession planning as their workforce changes. Other things we've worked on includes a toolkit referring to enhancing respect for the courts and court administration. We have also developed a court administrator model job description among the many things that the Court Management Council has done.
Yeah, casting a wide umbrella with membership there is great to hear. And also, yeah, doing some important work, making that administration of justice even more convenient and possible for administrators around the state. So, like you two mentioned, the Court Management Council is responsible for selecting the Court Manager of the Year, which, as early in the episode we talked to, Marlynn Markley was our 2025 Court Manager of the Year. Could you, Dawn Marie, walk us a little bit through the selection process of how a court manager is chosen for that award?
Absolutely. So just going back to 1987, the Court Management Council has presented the Court Manager of the Year award to honor our court professionals who have demonstrated exceptional leadership and significantly contributed to the improvement of court administration. And our recipients are recognized for their statewide or their regional impact, uniting and mobilizing others to advance the administration of justice. And this award reflects the CMC's, the Court Management Council's commitment to leadership, excellence, and continuous improvement within the court system. And in September of each year, we invite judges, administrators, in fact, the entire Washington judicial branch community to submit their nominations for Court Manager of the Year. And frankly, we get a lot of them because we have a lot of people doing a lot of good work in our judicial branch. And so we receive the nominations and we process them through the Court Management Council as a whole. Every participant, every member of the Court Management Council casts a vote for their selection for that year. And it's interesting because I've been on the Court Management Council since I arrived here in 2019. And what I've seen is that regardless of what court level a member might sit on or work for, or association or office, they really look at the qualifications and the nominations and select the person that is best suited for the Court Manager of the Year for that year. It's not a stacked deck. They don't vote in blocks based on who they represent. They really do pick out the person who's deserving of the award.
Of course, that's great to hear that it's through such a rigorous process, and it can't be easy. Like you said, a lot of great administrators and court managers out there to choose from, probably multiple people deserving of it every year. Linnea, did you have anything to add to that?
Sure, I would just add that to build off of that, the selection criteria is very specific. And so I think that's what really plays into this idea of no stack deck. But people really look at the quality of the applications. You know, our folks were looking through a lens of those who enhance the administration of justice, improve the quality of service, improve access to justice, enhancing expedition and timeliness, promoting equity and fairness and integrity, furthering the independence and accountability of the judiciary, and instilling public trust and confidence in Washington courts. Those are high ideals, and it's wonderful to work with people who are dedicated to these ideals.
Yeah, that's a lot of important boxes to check. And like you said, it is wonderful to work with people who strive towards that. I think that's the goal of everyone in court administration and in the justice system in Washington. We're very privileged for that.
Last year, Patrick, we were fortunate to have, and this is in 2024, we actually had co-winners, and they both came out of the King County Superior Court. Linda Ridge, who is the administrator there, and Paul Daniels, who's the juvenile court administrator in the King County Superior Court. So sometimes the decision is difficult, and the Court Management Council picks two winners. This year, in 2025, we selected one who
Yeah.
goes to the top.
Like you said, two winners from King County. King County is very lucky to have them, and two more deserving winners. Like you said, maybe makes the difficult choice sometimes a little bit easier.
A little
to be
bit
able to-
easier,
Yeah,
yeah.
there you go. Going specifically to Marlynn Markley, Linnea, could you go a little bit into what made Marlynn stand out as a choice for the 2025 Court Manager of the Year? I know she's accomplished a lot, but anything specific you could point out?
She really has accomplished so much, and I think Dawn Marie is going to go into a few of the specifics. I'm really staying in that ethereal space. It immediately comes to mind all of those selection criteria options. And when reviewing Marlynn's application or nomination, I suppose, it was profound at this person who had had uninterrupted, continuous service to the courts for, I think, 43 years. It was really profound to see what an impact she made coming from a smaller court in Eastern Washington. And it really rose to the level to remind all of us that it doesn't matter the size of the court or size of the jurisdiction. It really comes down to impact. And she made and has made a profound impact in her long career.
Dawn Marie?
Yeah, I think it's also important to add the voice of the nominator, and that's Judge John Hart, who is the Whitman County District Court judge. And a few of the things he said about Marlynn were, when I think of Marlynn, especially now and in 2025, I think about the calm voice in a storm. It hasn't been easy, but in the storm and a lot of people that were resisting change, this is the leader with the calm voice asking us to embrace, asking us to accept innovation, asking us to realize we're moving forward together. And as difficult as it can be, we all do it together. So we know that Marlynn has been an active member of the District and Municipal Court Management Association throughout her entire career. She held positions of leadership within the DMCMA, the organization, and served as a mentor to many of the lesser experienced court administrators. Marlynn also helped Whitman County District Court lead the courts of limited jurisdiction, so all the courts of limited jurisdiction, by lobbying to be named an early adopter court for the new case management system, Enterprise Justice. And that process so far has required a substantial investment of time above and beyond the normal duties and primarily taken on by Marlynn. She also, during COVID, was instrumental in making Whitman County District Court fourth in the entire state to resume court business and hold live remote hearings. So many initiatives, so much inspiration. I think that really is what distinguished Marlynn from the other nominations.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a well-deserved award, and a few things stuck out to me. The presiding judges, it was Judge Hart, but also a few of her past presiding judges also chimed in at the meeting, and they all spoke so highly of her, one even appointing her the best decision he made in his career. Very high praise. And also talking about, something like the courts of limited jurisdiction case management system adoption. I think it would be very easy to let other courts kind of step forward first and go into kind of the unknown and try and work out some of the kinks, but she was really leading the charge to make sure Whitman County was doing that themselves and helping the entire state by doing that, really. Something I was incredibly impressed by.
Yeah, that's a huge project. And basically, it is the evolution of the court's case management system environment. And sometimes being the first is not only difficult, it's scary. But Marlynn knew that they needed to make that change in that jurisdiction and that they wanted to be the leader of the pack.
Yeah, and I think that Judge Hart quote you mentioned of calling her the calm within the storm ended up being very accurate for something like that. So I want to go a little more broad here. And Dawn Marie, I'd be really interested to hear from you on this as state court administrator. Factoring this year's winners and past years as well, are there any recurring themes or traits you've noticed in what makes an effective court administrator or court manager, both in the winners who have received the award and just in general?
So, Patrick, I think I would go back to what Linnea said earlier regarding some of the themes that we looked for in Court Manager of the Year. And that includes the ability to enhance the administration of justice in their own court, to improve access to justice in their court, to enhance expedition and timeliness of Washington courts, and to promote and improve equity, fairness, and integrity in Washington courts. And I think for a lot of our court administrators, and certainly for the court managers of the years of years past, we see those unique qualities, and we see their ability to inspire people and to lead them and to take the courts forward. It's sometimes a job that is behind the scene and behind presiding judges, but it's really the court administrator in consultation with their presiding judge and with the bench to make things happen, to make improvements in their courts. And so many of our administrators are truly trained, are truly inspiring. They're trained professionals and they have vision. And I think that's what separates a lot of our court administrators from other states.
Yeah, and one thing I really appreciated you pointing out there was, making things happen, being the doers, but also making improvements, not just staying stagnant, constantly moving forward. Bending towards better and more equal and accessible justice is huge. Linnea, did you have anything to add there?
Sure. Thank you, Dawn Marie. I really appreciate what you shared. And I would just also add that change management is incredibly difficult, and change management in a judiciary has additional challenges at times, and shepherding courts through difficult times takes a leader who is passionate, who is creative. They're able to recalibrate. They're able to see opportunities when, maybe there's a whole field of problems, and they see those as opportunities to innovate, and an absolute commitment to the communities that they serve. That's something that comes through in my work every day in court administration, but also in reviewing the nominations through the years. Those are common themes that happen over and over. And the other thing that I'll just add is in court administration, to me, it is remarkable to see how court administrators remain adaptable and committed to learning. And so every year we're presented with new data, with new research, new ideas, and it's court admin that really takes that in and looks at that and figures out how to remain focused on being a learning organization and moving the courts forward into the future with every passing year.
Yeah, moving courts into the future is, like we mentioned, that progress is so important. And I really enjoyed the piece you just said of seeing problems as opportunities. I think that's such an important lesson everyone can take into any sort of work they do. And that, I think, is a pretty good note to end on. I would like to thank you both for coming on the show and dropping some of your court administration wisdom on us. I would like to give you both an opportunity. Is there any last thoughts or message you'd like to leave us off on? Dawn Marie, would you like to start?
Nothing other than congratulations, Marlynn. Well deserved.
Absolutely. Linnea?
Yes, I echo the same. Congratulations, Marlynn and Whitman County, for all of your innovation over the years.
Okay, well, thank you both again for coming on the show. And one last congratulations to Marlynn. Thank you. That'll be our episode for today.